Hey family, so welcome back to Chicago Science. We got a very interesting video today. I want to say in the beginning of this video, like always, God bless Israel, God bless the United States of America, and God bless this beautiful island. God bless you all, family. Let's start with this video right now. I wanna show you some things, okay, about both Donald Trump. I'm not gonna stop talking about this till the elections. Okay? I want to talk about this because you need to know who Donald Trump is. The only reason Donald Trump gave Israel the things he gave Israel is because he wants the peace deal. He wants the peace deal. That is the only reason the guy did what he did. The only reason. Okay, so right now I want to show you. This video's right here. Let me start with. Let me see which one. I want to start with this one right here. Okay, so I want to show you. I want to show you this because the guy says that he attacks Benjamin Netanyahu and attacks Israel at the same time. I want you to see this video or parts of it. I want you to subscribe to this guys, man, the Israel guy. These guys have all kinds of evidence of all. They defend Israel and they defend Israel with,
but then all of a sudden this comes out like we actually cussed out Netanyahu here in Israel. Every single one are pressuring to create a Palestinian state.
And they say the good things that Donald Trump did for Israel. That they're not just attacking Israel just because they want to attack Donald Trump. They say good things about Donald Trump because Donald Trump did good things for Israel.
Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of negativity and fake news, you should connect to the true and authentic stories of Israel. Guys, this week we got a lot of news going on. We have former President of America, Donald Trump, cursing Netanyahu, the former Prime Minister of Israel, and blasting the nation of Israel. All this and a lot more coming right up.
Don't go away, guys. You're going to be surprised at what we're going to be talking about today. But make sure you subscribe if you're on YouTube and wherever else you're watching or listening. Make sure you hit subscribe. It's completely free, and hit the notification bell. Guys, we are running an end-of-year fundraising campaign for the Israel Guys and our volunteer work here in Israel. And because of generous matching donors, every dollar that you give right now will be doubled, which is twice the impact. So it's amazing. And if you appreciate our media work that we're doing, putting out the true and authentic stories of Israel, you can give $5, $25, or $100. That will greatly help us launch into the year 2022. We have incredible plans to exponentially grow our media. We only have until December 30th, that's about 16 days from now, to meet our goal. You can check out the entire campaign at the cause match link in the description below. And if you can give to support our work, keep the Israel Guys free and keep us taking the fake news by storm, that's our goal. A gift would be greatly appreciated. Check out the link in the description below. Josh, everybody thought Donald J. Trump was Israel's greatest ally and friend. You know, that is up for debate, possibly still true. We're not going to belittle the amazing things that he has done for Israel.
We'll bring him up in just a
moment.
But
he made some incredible, and by incredible, I don't necessarily mean positive statements regarding former Prime Minister Netanyahu and Israel this past week. We're going to get into that, but first, let's play a clip of his interview.
I was disappointed in Bibi just on a personal basis. When we have an election that was a rigged election, like a third world country election, I think it's a terrible personal trait. I haven't spoken to him since, right? I didn't talk to him.
To give you a little background behind that interview, and
Let's listen to that once again.
We have all
Just on a personal basis, when we have an election that was a rigged election, like a third world country election. I think it's a terrible.
He says it was a rigged election. We're going to talk about that as well. I'm going to show you some things that Ron DeSantis said about that being a rigged election. Okay? Because it could have been a rigged election, but at the same time, he was the man in charge. Okay? He was the man in charge. If he's so tough like he is, he said, like he says he is, and he's the man that he's gonna make everything happen. Why did he let the other party steal the elections? Why? Because people working with him betrayed him. People working with him, and I'm gonna show you that. Listen to what he said about Benjamin Netanyahu.
Personal trait. I haven't spoken to him since, right? I didn't talk to him.
To give you a little background.
Fuck him, he said. Fuck him. He said, fuck Benjamin Netanyahu. Fuck him. Okay?
Behind that interview, and there's a much more lengthy version. We have all our source links in the description below, so you can check out the entire story if you want. That was an interview with a senior Israeli journalist named Barak Ravid, who is also a contributor to Axios. And he interviewed former President Trump for a book that he is releasing here in Israel. But some of the statements, you heard it yourself. There was a bleep in there. So we keep this show as kosher as we can. That's not a very nice statement about Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Especially when the world is under the skies, Luke.
They're out there on the internet.
Yeah.
It's not just an interview for a book anymore.
Right.
But
when the skies, this is what I want to say, is that the whole world is thinking one thing. But then all of a sudden this comes out and it's like, poof, it blows the cover. Like, what in the world? Okay, so now what is the story underneath? And that's what we're going to get into. But before we do that, Luke,
we want to recognize what President Trump
we're like good
did
people.
for Israel.
I mean, we consider ourselves, moral values, and they say, you know what you do to somebody that did something, you recognize them. Trump did some really amazing things. So we're going to recognize those for just a second here. Before we talk about what we've just mentioned, okay? We're going to get a lot more into that. But first, recognition is vital because he really did some amazing things. Trump recognized sovereignty on the Golan Heights. That was big. Like, the international world refused to recognize that. And Trump said, no, that's like common sense. You do this, right?
Well, a lot of people don't realize how big of a deal that was because they think Golan Heights, that's not Gaza or the West Bank. That's part of Israel. But every peace deal that
they even put the name of Donald Trump in the Golan Heights. Trump Heights.
It's been put forward for decades. The Golan Heights has been part of that, actually, giving that back to Syria.
Right.
So that was a really big deal.
And Jerusalem, Jerusalem's probably the biggest thing ever, is moving the capital, the embassy to Jerusalem. And verifying, okay, Jerusalem is the capital of the nation of Israel. That's huge.
Having the courage to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. People literally said that it would start World War III, and President Trump had the courage to do it.
Right. So you're talking about a lot of courage there. You got a lot of other things going on. As we go down the list, there's other things that are great. The Trump administration said that the Israeli settlements, this is under Mike Pompeo, said the Israeli settlements were not illegal per se, right? So that was like a change of international perception of what Israeli settlements were. So, we're talking about a huge deal.
That was Mike Pompeo who said that. Okay, I like Mike Pompeo. I like it.
When that statement came out, that rocked everybody. They're like, whoa! Like, somebody's finally got some common sense.
And for those who don't know who Mike Pompeo is, Mike Pompeo was the Secretary of State of Donald Trump. Okay.
Other things that President Trump did, facilitated the Abraham Accords, which is huge. You have a lot of Arab countries that have now made peace with Israel. Also, President Trump had the courage to defund the PLO office, or to shut down the PLO offices in Washington, D.C., and cut a lot of funding to the PA that was going to terrorism here in Israel, and defund UNRWA, which was also feeding terrorism. We don't have time to get into it now.
Luke,
there was one big thing, though, that President Trump wanted to go down in history as doing.
Listen to this. The one thing that he wanted to go down in history, okay? The one thing. Listen to it. I have said this before many times.
That he did not do, or was not successful at doing, and that was the deal of the century.
That's exactly right. And that's what I'm going to say. The deal of the century was his goal. He accomplished all these amazing things. And we're not talking about all the other things he did in the world. Like, a lot of great things he did. He did a lot of great things for America. We're not. This is just relation to Israel. We're in Israel. We're talking about Israel. We're just going to talk about these things. The one thing he wanted to do, the highest priority on his list, he didn't accomplish, and that is what the fuming's about.
Right.
It's about creating a Palestinian state. Whoa. That's actually what it's about. He didn't say it was about that in the beginning, but we're gonna like
Josh, we'll get more
mark
into
it
that,
out.
but I want to give context, okay, for
Yeah.
where all this came from. You heard the 15-second clip where he actually cussed out Netanyahu here in Israel and said horrible things about Israel. Let's get it more into what he actually said. Guys, this is not rumors. This is not reports. This is very, very true, and all of our source links are in the description below. You don't have to believe us. You can check it all out yourself. So Barak Ravid, senior Israeli journalist, contributor to Axios, interviewed President Trump for a book that is releasing here in Israel. I want to read some of the quotes that President Trump said. He said, nobody, quote, nobody did more for Bibi, who's Prime Minister Netanyahu. And I liked Bibi. I still like Bibi. But I also like loyalty. The first person to congratulate Biden was Bibi. And not only did he congratulate him, he did it on tape. And it was on tape. Regarding Joe Biden's election, and also Bibi, Trump went on to say, the first person who congratulated Biden was Bibi Netanyahu, the man that I did more for than any other person I dealt with. Bibi could have stayed quiet. He's made a terrible mistake. And then he went on to say what you heard in the clip there. Early? Okay, let's use this. He was very early, like earlier than most. I haven't spoken to him since. Then he cussed out former Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu.
Luke, can we break down this for a second? So you got this whole rundown. You just went through it. You broke it down. Okay, but I want to break it down even further. Okay, now you got these two accusations. First, he's the first one. Okay, well, that's not true. He's not the first one. And then he says he's, one of the earliest.
I too, if I remember correctly, Netanyahu actually got criticism for not congratulating Biden soon enough after the election.
He was.
Here you go. He said, you see how this guy is a liar? He said that the Bibi Netanyahu was the first one to congratulate Sleepy Joe. That's a lie. That's a lie. Okay, that is a lie. This guy is a liar. Keep listening.
Among the last. Like, not even on the front end. First, certainly not the first, not the second, not even close to the beginning, not even in the middle. He's one of the last.
He was one of the last to congratulate Sleepy Joe.
World leaders to congratulate. Now, we're not even saying that's a good thing. I mean, you could go both ways. But
that's
what
just
Trump
a fact,
is saying is
just to debunk that myth. But
Netanyahu had respected Trump, and even to the point where he said, "Thank you. These things are amazing." Even when he congratulated Biden in the video clip, you can go check it out yourself. He actually thanks the President Trump at the time for all that he did for Israel. Well, Trump takes a personal,
right. And
offense.
my question is that America is Israel's greatest ally. Okay.
Yeah.
What choice did Netanyahu have? Okay. A new president comes in, Democrat, Republican.
Exactly. It doesn't matter who it is. Israel is an ally of the United States. Israel is not an ally of Donald Trump. Israel is an ally of the United States. So they need to have both parties with them at their side. Okay. Not only the Republican Party, they need both parties. And I know that this party, Democrat Party, has become so radical. Right now, it is a party that is anti-Israel. The Democrat Party is an anti-Israel party, but still, they need them. You know, they are allies. You know, you cannot, if you're Benjamin Netanyahu, you cannot just stay quiet and not congratulate the guy who won, just because Donald Trump did so many things for him. When Donald Trump, all he wanted was to get a peace deal with the Palestinians, something that they cannot do. They cannot do that. Keep listening.
Whether or not you believe their support for Israel is going to be high or low. He's the incoming president, and Israel wants to keep a very good relationship with America. So, of course, he's going to congratulate him. And he has every right to do that.
And obviously, he's not going to get in on the internal fight. He's not going to get in an internal fight. Just like we would never expect America to get in an internal fight of Israel's elections. Okay, so there was problems. Yeah, well, we're not going to have those kind of things happening. You're not going to get involved on the other side. There's nothing else he could have done, and we'll just say that. But the real rift, what's the real rift that went on? Because they actually had a rift, the big one, and that was when it come to annexation. Right. When there was a little bit of a unexpected, maybe it was miscommunication. But this is what I really think the real story is about right here, Luke. And that's when Netanyahu announces the annexation.
Right.
It's almost like they missed that was a part of the plan. Now, it was a
Well,
part
can
of
I
the
put it
plan,
in-
but
can
maybe
I-
there was a major misunderstanding.
So the background story here,
Yeah, give it to us.
is that everybody was eagerly anticipating President Trump's plan to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It went on for like several years, and they were not releasing it, kept being delayed. So finally, his big plan is going to be released at the White House, right? The deal of the century. Everybody's been speculating. We speculated. We spent a lot of hours researching and covering the topic. Okay, so the deal of the century is announced.
Absolutely.
It basically calls
That is-
for
that is
Israel to hold on
absolutely
to
right.
about a third of Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, and then the rest of Judea and Samaria to be turned into eventually like a Palestinian state, right?
Yeah.
So Netanyahu gets up after President Trump presents the deal of the century, and he immediately says, "This is not the deal of the century. This is the opportunity of a lifetime." And he's basically says, "We, as Israel, we are eagerly embracing this plan." And then he goes on to say to start talking about how Israel is going to permanently hold on to the parts of Judea and Samaria that are mentioned in the deal of the century,
Right.
AKA annex, right? So Trump is surprised by that. And we have this full podcast that you can listen to by Axios. And if all this is true, that this senior Israeli journalist was actually in the room for a lot of these things, then it's very interesting because Trump's administration immediately understands that Netanyahu is talking about annexation for a third of Judea and Samaria, and Netanyahu actually told his staff and his team and reporters that that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to immediately go back to Israel, present it to the cabinet, and get annexation rolling. As soon as the Trump administration, Jared Kushner, finds out, they immediately lash out at the entire Israeli administration and say, no, that is not what we meant at all.
Well, Luke, even more background is that, of course, Bibi is in the right wing parties of Israel. He sees an opportunity because Israel is so much pressure all the time around it, specifically in this area of Judea and Samaria. Bibi sees a
from the whole
window
world
to annex pieces of Judea and Samaria with world approval. Of course, he's going to take that, and he goes to do it. But here's the other thing he knows: the Arabs will not agree to the other side, and that's why Trump got livid, right? That's why he got upset, because he needed it all as a package. He didn't want Bibi running out ahead and saying, "We've got to do this. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Let's grab that annexation as quick as possible,
Right.
because we know that the Arabs will not accept."
Exactly.
And we've got a lot of
So
history
that was
on it.
that was in Netanyahu's mind, right? And
Right.
of course, this is our opinion and our analysis now.
Makes a lot of sense.
So in Netanyahu's mind, he thinks, I got to grab this opportunity. The Arabs will never agree, so we don't have to worry about a Palestinian state. In Trump's mind, this is his opportunity to go down in history to make the Palestinians happy and to make Israel happy. Israel gets a third, Palestinians get 2/3, they get an official state, everybody's happy. Trump, obviously, we talk about a lot. A Western mindset just doesn't fit in with a Middle Eastern mindset. So Trump doesn't understand that,
That's right.
for decades and decades, the Arabs have never agreed to any of the peace deals that have been presented. Obviously, they're not going to agree to this one. Why? Because Israel's not leaving Israel. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Bibi knows that, but Trump doesn't know that. So he says all or nothing. And so when he hears that Israel's ready to just move forward, he says absolutely not.
Right. Luke, can I say something real quick? All the other things that Trump did, we thought were great. This, even from the beginning, the deal of the century, you and I, we actually bashed this from the beginning. We were like, whoa. Whenever you tell me, when I'm living inside Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland of Israel, that you want to create a Palestinian state inside of these borders, a terror state inside of these borders, you're going to find a little...
Right, that's what you're going to create. You're going to create a terror state in Judea and Samaria. A really, really big, in the heart of Israel. That is the heart of Israel.
resistance from me, because I'm a Christian Zionist, and all Christian Zionists should be in the same boat. So what happened? And actually Netanyahu, the former prime minister here, is actually a little bit in that boat too, saying, no, we don't want a terrorist state here. Now, Trump needed that because he needed to go down in history to make this peace deal. We were never for this. We were never for it. And that's why we covered it so extensively back in the day. Now, this leads into the discussion. Trump said, and let's quote him here, Netanyahu did not want to make peace. Never did. Okay, so this is why Trump's view of the
So
conversation.
Netanyahu never wanted peace. And take a look at what he says. Take a look at what this woke old garbage says.
He says, he continues, I think he, referring to Benny Gantz, wanted to make a deal. If he won, so the elections, this is the time the elections were going on. If he won, I think it would have been a lot easier. He's saying he could have gotten a deal passed through Benny Gantz, who is a leftist in the situation and really doesn't care about, he doesn't have a strong cut up Judea and Samaria, let's not create a Palestinian state. Bibi has actually a core that says, no, we don't want to create a Palestinian state inside. He can't say that. He's political. He's a politician.
Right.
But he doesn't want to create a Palestinian state in the middle of Israel's heartland. It's just he can't. So that's where this goes into this conversation. They really start missing each other.
Yeah.
Because Bibi's trying to hold on to the land of Israel. Trump is actually trying to push Israel to give it away. That's
right.
And
Trump basically goes on to say, he comes into this peacemaking process and he says, quote, I had thought the Palestinians were impossible and the Israelis would do anything to make peace and a deal. I found that not to be true. Now, we don't have time, but if you go back in history, Israel has been very willing to give away land for peace. In fact, they gave away more than 90% of the land that they recaptured and liberated in 1967.
Exactly. They recaptured all of those lands in the 1967 war, in the 6-Day War. They recaptured all of it. They gave it back for peace. They gave back the Sinai Peninsula. Okay, they gave it back. The Sinai Peninsula. Okay, to Egypt. They had all of that land. Right now, they're getting attacked from that land. Right now, as we're speaking, this video is from like months ago. Okay, and they're talking about this, and they're getting attacked from that side, from the Sinai Peninsula. They gave all of that land away. They gave it back to the Egyptians for peace. Okay. They gave back Judea and Samaria to the Jordanians.
And did it bring any peace? No. Brought more terrorism. Gaza Strip, giving that to the Arabs, brought more terrorism.
Gaza Strip as well.
Look, I just want to say about this quote is that he actually, this is where he stops being a personal issue between him and Netanyahu, and he bashes Israel. This is when it gets a little bit worse.
This is, I guess what we want to bring out here too is that it's revealing Trump's true intentions all along.
Yeah.
And
which were in question.
True intentions were, and he actually says this. We'll get in more because we're going to have a part 2 to this episode where we'll talk about at the end of the show today to get more into Mahmoud Abbas and Trump's relationship with him. Yeah. Calls him a father figure. But Trump actually, he came right out and said his intentions were to give something to the Israelis to make them happy and give something to the Arabs to make them happy. Basically, like, give everybody a little something, they're all happy and they'll live in peace with each other. Well, unfortunately, like we've said so many times, that's a Western mindset. It doesn't work here in the Middle East. But he thought, he'd heard all these horrible things about the Palestinians and they wouldn't negotiate. Then he met Mahmoud Abbas and he kind of considered him like a father figure, and we're going to get into that later. And now he found that the Israelis won't do anything to make peace. They're very hard to get along with, and that the Palestinians would have been a much better partner for peace.
Which, and he quotes, he says, even most recently, when we came up with the maps, this is when their conversation goes farther down the line. He says, Netanyahu's action was, this is good. Everything was always great, but he did not want to make a deal. That's the quote from Trump. So the whole time, and I just want to say, thank God. Now that we see it in the rearview mirror, we understand the pressure that Netanyahu had from the Trump administration to do one thing, and that was to create a Palestinian terror state. Okay, maybe Trump didn't know that. I don't know. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'd like to.
It's just
but
it's a fact. That American mindset coming in trying to solve this age-old conflict.
And maybe, he doesn't have the grid for the Middle East, whatever the problem is here.
Okay, I'm going to leave it here because I said something else. I don't know if they talk about that. I'm not going to leave all of this video, the last 20 plus minutes. We're already in 17 minutes of this video, so I'm going to leave it there. But he also said that you heard it there that Mahmoud Abbas was the president of the Palestinian Authority and was like a father figure for Donald Trump. He said that, and then he said that he said it right there that Israel didn't want peace and the Palestinians want peace. That was a lie. That is another lie. The Palestinians have never in history want peace with Israel. These people do not want peace with Israel. They don't want peace. Okay? They want all the land. They don't want a piece of land. They want all the land. That was another lie by this woke old Scrooge Donald Trump. Okay. Now let's see who's the. Let's talk. Let me show you about the rock election, the rig elections that he's talking about. Let me show you that right here, the rig elections.
Joining us on the show is Governor Ron DeSantis. He has freshly announced his. If you, like me, believe that your online activity is nobody's business but your own, employed, despite massive.
One of the main reasons families have moved to Florida is hit a 50-year low.
Actually took some pretty strong positions on crime, up to and including providing stipends for incoming police officers. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Well, first of all, Florida's crime rate is at a 50-year low. That's just
one of the big questions that comes up in the presidential election, happened in 2020, I'm sure it'll happen again in 2024, is Donald Trump claims that the 2020 election was rigged. And this raises a question, even if you believe that that's true, how do you plan
listen to this part.
and to reverse 2020?
Debilitated early.
If you're a smart person, you will understand this part. If you're dumb and you want to listen to the majority of the people, then go ahead. But if you're smart and you're in the minority on this, you're going to understand. You're going to understand. And I hope many of you understand. Those of you who praise Donald Trump or worship him will understand that the rig elections were Donald Trump's fault. Because he could have fired all of those people. Listen to this.
So that they can prey on people in our society is a huge, huge mistake.
So Governor DeSantis, one of the big questions that comes up in the presidential election, happened in 2020, I'm sure it'll happen again in 2024, is Donald Trump claims that the 2020 election was rigged. And this raises a question, even if you believe that that's true, how do you plan to reverse that sort of thing? If you're worried that the voting rules have changed, how do you plan to actually win, given the fact that 2020 didn't go the way that Donald Trump wanted it to go? Well, you obviously, in the state of Florida, took a very different tack, and you can see the results. You can see a 20-point shift between 2018 and 2020. Can you talk about your sort of on-the-ground strategy and how that would be different from what President Trump did in 2020 running against the Democrats?
The left is going to throw the kitchen sink at any Republican. You've got to be ready for that. So in 2020, we saw these states, largely because of the Fauci state of emergency for COVID, they used that as a pretext to change the rules, the way voting happened. They embraced this mail balloting and ballot harvesting. Of course, I think that that's wrong. But if I were the candidate, I would have gone in and combated that. Either had our people doing the same ballot harvesting or been more aggressive to try to head that off in terms of some of the legal challenges. I also look at how the federal government colluded with some of the tech companies to censor information, like the Hunter Biden story. That's election interference. It's totally unfair.
Now listen to this part. Listen to this part.
Also point out, that was Donald Trump's FBI and Donald Trump's DHS that was doing that. He didn't have control over his own agencies. If somebody in my government were doing that, they would have been fired the next day. And so you've got to take the responsibility as the candidate to shape the battlefield in a way that's going to be most advantageous to your side winning. So what I'll do, obviously in Florida, we did it very effectively, but nationally, you look to see what the rules of the game are. Yes, we ban ballot harvesting in Florida. That's what you should do. Yes, we ban sucker bucks in Florida. That's what you should do. However, not every state has done that. So if you're in a state like Nevada, that's a mass mail balloting state with ballot harvesting and sucker bucks, we will have organizations in place so that we can exploit that system. If you have it in Wisconsin, we will have organizations in place to exploit that system. I think telling people not to send in a mail ballot is a huge mistake, and it ends up reducing the pool of prospective voters. In Florida, we focused on some of these low propensity voters in my reelection. They usually vote in presidential, they don't always vote in midterm, and we converted a lot of them to vote. Most of them chose to vote by absentee ballot through the mail. That was their choice. If we told them you could only vote on election day, some of them very well may not have voted. So understand the battlefield.
That is right. Now you have to listen to that. That was Donald Trump's government, okay? Okay, so his own government colluded against him, okay? He was rigged by his own government, okay? By his own government. Now, he was this tough guy, right? He is this tough guy who's going to change, who's going to drain the swamp. No, he didn't. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. Now listen to the man who is not going to give land away from Israel.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis spoke at the Republican Jewish Coalition political conference Saturday night. At the conference, he declared that Judea and Samaria is not indeed occupied. Benjamin Netanyahu also spoke at the event, reiterating that the Palestinians do not want peace with Israel.
There you go. There you go. Now let's see if they tore it
A
here.
stabbing attack was foiled near Hebron. Here in Israel with us in the future. All right, guys. Ron DeSantis spoke at the Republican Jewish Coalition Conference Saturday night. So in his speech, he talked a lot about his big Republican win in Florida in the midterm elections just last week. He talked about his connection and what he's done for the Jewish community in Florida, also his connection to Israel and his support for Israel. What was really amazing, though, is he actually defended the right of Jews to live in the biblical heartland, Judea and Samaria, saying that history shows that Jews have thousands of years of connection to Judea and Samaria, and he went so far as to say that Judea and Samaria is not occupied. He said, quote, "I don't care what the State Department said. They are not occupied territory. It is disputed territory," unquote. So he's go ahead right out and say it, that this Judea and Samaria is not occupied territory. He even immediately didn't even refer to it as the West Bank, as most other American politicians do, and even pretty much every politician around the world later refers to this area as the West Bank. Incorrectly, Ron DeSantis actually has it correct. It's Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland of Israel. He also talked about other stuff he's done for Israel and Israel.
Done many things for Israel. Now you listen to that. I couldn't play it right there because of the copyrights. Maybe I can't play it either. Maybe this video is going to get blocked because of this. But there's videos that I have shown you. But at the same time, I can tell you something. I tell you something, man. All Donald Trump wants is to get a peace deal between Israel and the Palestinians, or this so-called Palestinians, this Arab people, okay? That is all Donald Trump wants. Donald Trump, he doesn't really want to help Israel. If he wanted to help Israel, he would have never said things he said about Bibi Netanyahu and that Mahmoud Abbas, this terrorist guy, who is the leader of the Palestinian Authority, is like a father figure to him. That the guy wanted peace, and Benjamin Netanyahu didn't want peace. That is all lies. All lies. Israel wants peace, but at the same time, Israel is not going to give land away again for them to be attacked from those areas. And this is the biggest one. This is the biggest one. Israel cannot give this land away. It cannot do it. They would rather go to war to give this piece of land away, or maybe have a liberal like Benny Gantz, who doesn't care, and he's going to go by what the United States says, because even Donald Trump said that with Benny Gantz, it would have been easier to make peace between the Palestinians and Israel. There's no peace between the Palestinians or the so-called Palestinians and Israel. There's no peace. There will never be peace between those two parts. They have peace with the UAE. They have peace with Bahrain. They have peace with other Muslim countries. But this country still vote. They still vote against Israel and the United Nations. They still vote against Israel. And the United Nations passed against Israel. All of these countries vote against Israel. All of them. That is the thing, man. You need to understand that. If you don't understand that, I don't know what. I really don't know what can I say, man? I really don't know what. What can you listen? What can you? I mean, it is clear that all Donald Trump wanted what was his peace deal, the deal of the century. That's all Donald Trump wanted it. It doesn't matter if his daughter is married to a Jewish guy. It doesn't matter. There are many Jewish people who don't want the best for Israel. Many, starting with George Soros and with Bernie Sanders. These people are Jewish, but they don't want the best for Israel. They don't care. They don't care about Israel. Okay? There are many Jewish people who don't care about Israel. They live in other countries and they don't care about Israel. Okay? That is the truth. They're Pharisees. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. Okay? That's all I have, family. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to be coming back. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and support it. Let's keep on moving, man. Moving up, okay? Thanks a lot, and God bless you all. See you later, family. See you later.